Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Om Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Ram Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Ramakrishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan, Krishna Bhagavan Rama Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Rama Krishna Bhagavan Krishna Bhagavan Rama Krishna Bhagavan Om Bhagavan Om Bhagavan Om Bhagavan Rama Krishna সব যন্ত্রণা এড়াও রে শঙ্করী চরণে মনোমগ্ন হয়ে রাও রে শঙ্করী চরণে মনোমগ্ন হয়ে রাও রে শঙ্করী চরণে সব যন্ত্রণা এড়াও রে শঙ্করী চরণে মনোমগ্ন হয়ে রাও রে শঙ্করী চরণে মনোমগ্ন হয়ে রাও রে এ তিন সংসার মিছে মিছে ভ্রমিয়ে বেড়াও রে এ তিন সংসার মিছে মিছে ভ্রমিয়ে বেড়াও রে এ তিন সংসার মিছে মিছে ভ্রমিয়ে সংসার মিছে মিছে ভ্রমিয়ে বেড়াও রে কুল কুণ্ডলিনী ব্রহ্মময়ী কুল কুণ্ডলিনী ব্রহ্মময়ী অন্তরে ধিয়াও কুণ্ডলিনী ব্রহ্মময়ী কুল কুণ্ডলিনী ব্রহ্মময়ী অন্তরে ধিয়াও রে শঙ্করী চরণে মনোমগ্ন হয়ে রাও রে শঙ্করী চরণে কোমলকান্তের বাণী শ্যামা মায়ের গুণ গাও রে কমলকান্তের বাণী শ্যামা মায়ের গুণ গাও রে কমলকান্তের বাণী শ্যামা মায়ের মায়ের গুণ গৌরে, এত সুখের নদী নিরবধি, এত সুখের নদী নিরবধি, ধীরে ধীরে বাউরে, এত সুখের নদী নিরবধি, এত সুখের নদী নিরবধি, ধীরে ধীরে বাউরে, শঙ্করী চরণে মন মগ্ন হয়ে রাওরে, 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 মগ্ন হয়ে রাওরে, মগ্ন হয়ে রাওরে। मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, 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 मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई। जाके सिर मोर मुकुट मेरु पाति सोई, जाके सिर मोर मुकुट मेरु पाति सोई, शंख चक्र गद पद्म कंठ मान होई, शंख चक्र गद पद्म कंठ मान होई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, 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 मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई। ताता माता भ्रात बंधु अपनु न कोई, ताता माता भ्रात बंधु अपनु न कोई, छाड़ दई कुल की कन क्या करेगा कोई, छाड़ दई कुल की कन क्या करेगा कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई। संत संग बैठ बैठ लोक लाज खोई, संत संग बैठ बैठ लोक लाज खोई, आप तो बात फाई लगाई जान सब कोई, आप तो बात फाई लगाई जान सब कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल दूसरा न कोई, 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 मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल, दूसरा न कोई। हम शुभम जल सिंच सिंच प्रेम बीज बोई, हम शुभम जल सिंच सिंच प्रेम बीज बोई, मेरा प्रभु लगन लागी जो होई सो होई, मेरा प्रभु लगन लागी जो होई सो होई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल, दूसरा न कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल, दूसरा न कोई, 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 मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल, दूसरा न कोई, मेरे तो गिरिधर गोपाल, दूसरा न कोई। स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. To the establisher of dharma, the one who was the embodiment of all dharmas, the best of the divine incarnations, to Sri Ramakrishna, we offer our salutations. Om, peace, peace, peace. So I don't know whether you ever wondered about this prayer of Swami Vivekananda. It's composed by him. It's a prayer on Sri Ramakrishna. Sthapakaya cha dharmasya. To the establisher of dharma, of spirituality. So that all avatars have in common. There is a decline of dharma, of righteousness, and there is a rise in adharma, unrighteousness. So the avatars come to this world. Krishna, Rama, Christ, Buddha. So Sthapakaya cha dharmasya, that is common to all avatars. Sarva dharma swarupine. He calls Sri Ramakrishna the embodiment of all dharmas, of all religions, of all faiths. And then avatara varishtaya. Now, this is a difficult statement. To the best of all incarnations. What did Swamiji mean by that? As far as I know, nobody asked him. It would have been nice if somebody had asked Swamiji, what do you mean by saying that Sri Ramakrishna is the best of the avatars? Because it seems to contradict the very teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, who said that all avatars, all faiths, all paths are the same. They lead to the same God. How can we say then that Sri Ramakrishna is the best of them all? Well, one way to look at it, there are many explanations you will find that people have tried to give, and there is no right or wrong answer. Everybody has their own interpretation of what Swamiji meant by that. And of course, we can never hope to understand Sri Ramakrishna the way Swamiji understood him. That is beyond our capacity. But one way to look at it is Avatara Varishtha, the best of the avatars, is connected to the previous statement, to the embodiment of all dharmas. So because Sri Ramakrishna was accepted and respected and honored all dharmas, because of that, for us, he is the best. So to give you an example, you may find, you will have to try very hard, you will find people who are narrow-minded in most religions. You will find a Vaishnava who will say, Krishna alone will save you. Or a Shaiva who will say, Shiva alone will save you. Or a Christian who will say, Christ alone is the only path. But can you imagine a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna who will say, Sri Ramakrishna alone is the path? It's just not possible. I mean, I have never come across a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna who believes that Sri Ramakrishna alone is the path. It's like Sri Ramakrishna made it so clear that all religions are true, that they are all equal paths to the truth. He emphasized it so much, and he made it so clear that it is impossible for a follower of Sri Ramakrishna to be narrow-minded, to be fanatical, to say Sri Ramakrishna alone will save you. So perhaps it is because of that broadness, that Swamiji called him the best of the avatars, just because he doesn't want to be the best, just because he considers all equally great. That makes him universal. Anyways, one way to look at it. So that was the opening prayer. Now, the subject, I think, is stories of Vedanta monks. So there is a book that Swami Chaitananda wrote. It's available in Bengali and English, and it's called in English, Stories of Vedanta Monks. Prachin Sadhuder Kotha. So there are many wonderful stories in that book about the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna and the disciples of the direct disciples. So I thought today we can make it a little bit informal, not high Vedanta, but just some stories from the old days of the Swamis. And some stories are very inspiring, some stories are very interesting also. So there was a Swami, some of you may have heard about him. His name was Swami Muktananda, and he was a disciple of Swami Shivananda, and he lived for many years in Kashi, in our hospital, Kashi Sevashrama. So when Swami Shivananda gave him brahmacharya vows, he said, you will serve the Narayanas in Kashi. I mean, by Narayanas, he meant the sick people, considering them as Narayana, as God. So you will serve the Narayanas, and through that you will get Shakti, you will get spiritual power, you will get Mukti, you will get liberation, and you will get everything else you may need. That is your path, serving the Narayanas. So that is how he started his spiritual life. And he spent about 60 years just serving the Narayanas. So it's a very unique life that he lived, most of the time in Kashi. And one unique trait of his service was that he served all, young and old, male and female patients. And that's unusual. A Swami will not generally be dealing with the female patients. So he used to dress the wounds of the surgical patients after surgery. He would dress the wounds and heal whatever needs to be done. So he used to do it for both. And there's a story that gives a background to that perhaps explains why or how he could do that. So a few months after being initiated and getting brahmacharya vows from Swami Shivananda, he was in the Sevashrama. He was coming back from the Ganges, and he saw outside the hospital a young lady, maybe 18 years old, extremely beautiful. He describes like in this way, like, I didn't think that it was possible for a human being to be so beautiful. That's how he describes this young girl, young woman. So he was just looking at her, surprised, like in wonderment. He was like, just looking. And then this lady says, what are you looking at? See. And when she says see, she opens her cloth. And there she had a wound that covered her whole chest, full of worms wriggling and all, festering wound. Very shocking. So he was so shocked by that, seeing that he said, oh, mother, let me get some medicine. I'll bring the key to the cabinet and I'll get some medicines and I'll treat you right away. So he rushed to get the key. When he came back, she wasn't there. There was nobody. And whoever he asked, nobody had seen her. There was no trace of her. Then some brahmacharis asked him, who do you think, many years later after the incident, who do you think this was? And he said, I think she was Mahamaya, the Divine Mother. She was showing me not to look at the appearances, not to look at the form, to look beyond that, not to be affected by beauty or ugliness of a festering sore. So that's how he started his spiritual life. And that would explain how he was able to treat everybody, young and old, female, male. He didn't see any difference. He was serving Narayana. He could see beyond the form, beyond the physical form. So by the time these reminiscences were recorded, he was in his 80s. In his young brahmachari assistant, he recorded this reminiscences. So he says that he would go for breakfast and then go to the hospital and start bandaging the wounds of the patients, about 50 patients a day. So the whole day he was practically there, except for some time for meals and rest. And so sometimes in those days, the hygiene was not what it is today. And the wounds would be so bad that they would be like stinking. It was unbearable smell coming from like a rotten flesh. And some patients were so bad that nobody else wanted to be in the same room with the patients. It was like overpowering. But they saw the Swami. They used to call him Bon Baba. His name was Bon Bihari, and they used to call him Bon Baba. So he became known in Benares throughout the city. So they used to see that Bon Baba is dressing the wounds as if nothing, and nobody can stand the smell, but he doesn't seem to be affected. So they asked him, Maharaj, don't you smell? It's pretty strong smell. He said, no, I don't smell anything. So many interesting stories about this Swami. So those who saw him dressing the wounds, they said it looked like a puja. He would do it so carefully and so lovingly that it reminded them, whoever was witnessing this, reminded them of a puja. He was really worshiping Narayana with his service. And he would talk to the patients, like chit-chatting to distract them from their pain. So just like a loving mother with her children, he would dress the wound and talk to them and just distract them. And you could see the patients smiling in spite of the pain because he was treating them so nicely. So then eventually he got old and infirm. And because of his many years standing, he could not bend his knees. He had arthritis. So he couldn't walk, so they would use a wheelchair to bring him to the hospital. And on a high stool, sitting on a high stool, he continued to dress the wounds, which is very moving because he himself is handicapped. He himself cannot walk, and he's still dressing the wounds of the patients. So it's a very moving example. So eventually his fame spread that whoever was treated by him, they would recover. That was became like a healer in spite of himself. He never wanted that, but the patients had that faith. Oh, if Bom Baba Maharaj dresses my wound, it will be fine. So they would wait for him. So that meant more work for him because everybody wants to be treated by him. This is a story that is not in the book, but we have a devotee in St. Louis, and she went in the 80s when he was still alive. He passed away in the mid-90s. So in the 80s, she visited India. And so he was just another Swami, you know. Nobody, in our order, nobody makes a fuss. Even if you are a saint, nobody will make a fuss. So this saintly Swami was living his life quietly there in Kashi. And when devotees came, they would say, you know, the other Swami would say, go and meet that Swami. You know, that Swami, you have to meet him. So this devotee from St. Louis with another friend, they went to India, American lady. And the Swami said, go and meet Bom Baba Maharaj. So this lady had a bad cold and she was coughing all the time. She was a bit hesitant to go and see the Swami, but she said, okay, let me go and just from a distance, you know, have a little chat. They started talking. Then after a few minutes, they left. The cold is gone. So that I heard firsthand. It's not in the book. But, you know, she is not a person who pays attention to these things, but she could not ignore the fact that she had a very bad cough. She could not stop coughing. And without thinking about it, just being in his presence, he was gone, completely gone. So he was an interesting Swami. So somebody asked him once, why do you call all the patients Narayana? In fact, he was very keen on this. If somebody says, oh, today I treated 10 patients, he would say, what? Not patients, Narayana. Shouldn't call them patients. So then he said, when asked why, he explained, he said, Sri Ramakrishna told Swamiji that Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva, serve human beings or serve all beings as God, as Shiva. So how to remind ourselves that it is God we are serving? Call them Narayana, call them God. Some Christians will call it is Jesus who has come. I am serving Jesus. So I'm serving Narayana. I'm not serving a human being. I'm serving Narayana. So instead of helping, which would be our normal attitude, oh, I come, I do volunteer work because I'm helping. How can we help God? God doesn't need our help. So help becomes service. When we look at God instead of at a human being or an animal. If we look at them as human beings or animals or plants, then we are helping them. If we look at them as God, how can we help God? We are only serving. It is God who is helping us by accepting our service. So he also had some kind of, he was fine-tuned to these things. He had a fine-tuning. So often he would say to his assistant, his brahmachari sevak, I think there is a Narayana who needs help. Go and see. Sometimes at odd hours. So the brahmachari, you know, they have their own routine. Maharaj, it's time to eat. The doctor is there. Why do you want me to go? Or maybe it is nap time, Maharaj. The doctor is there. But the Swami would say, no, I cannot sleep. You have to go and see. Check. I think there is a Narayana who needs help. So he would go and see, and invariably there would be some situation that the doctor is not available and the person is dying or something like that. And he would fix everything. He would call the doctor and then come and report to the Swami that, yes, everything is taken care of. So this happened many times, that he would be so fine-tuned that he could feel that there is an Narayana, there's something that we have to go and see what's going on. So he tells Bom Baba Maharaj himself, he tells a nice story, that something he witnessed when he was a Swami, young Swami in Kashi. He said that in those days they had no servants. Most of the work was done by the monastics, even sweeping the the sidewalk, everything was done by the Swamis. Because there was no money to pay anybody else. So once there were two Swamis cleaning the drains, and for some reason they started arguing, and that became a quarrel. They became agitated, and then one of them was stronger, bigger, and he gave a blow to the other Swami. No. So the other Swami was shocked, and he retreated, he left. Then after some time, the big Swami who hit him, he started looking for him everywhere. And then he found him in a room sitting alone, smoking a bidi, one of those cheap cigarettes. The Swamis in those days in India, they used to smoke bidi and these things. It's common among monks. So he was just quietly smoking a bidi alone. And this other Swami, when he saw him, he said, "You rascal, you are smoking alone." And he took the bidi and started smoking. Now it seems like a very strange story. Normally, if you lost your temper and you made a mistake, then you go and apologize. "I'm sorry, I did this." This is just the opposite. He's calling him rascal and taking the bidi and start smoking. So then he says that after that, they went and finished their work, and then they took bath in the Ganges, and they had a meal, and as if nothing had happened. And so his reflection is that the monks of those days, they were very sharol, they were very simple. They were very spontaneous. There was nothing hidden. It's like, look at it this way. Anger came, and we had this encounter, and then anger left. It's gone. There is no residue. There is no resentment. So it's not like, oh, we have to talk about this and discuss and settle and make. It's like it's gone. To me, that is a very interesting psychology. That, yes, when you work together, there are bound to be problems. You can't help it. Living together in a family, a couple, or parents and children, or colleagues at work, it's just unrealistic to expect that there will be no conflict. It's unrealistic to expect that there will be no friction. So what is the next best thing? If you have friction once in a while, okay, let it go quickly. Don't hang on to it. Don't let it stay there. So these two Swamis is a very nice example. Yes, he lost his temper, yeah, they quarrel, and then it's gone. They don't even talk about it. So that is one story he told. There's another funny story. So one Swami's duty was to go around the city looking for dying people and pick them up, take them to the hospital and see what they could do for them. Some of them were in very bad shape, dirty, dying, nobody cares, just lying in the street. So this Swami, his job was pick them up and leave them on the veranda of the hospital. That his problem ends there. Then he goes and picks up somebody else. So once it was lunchtime, and he dropped one such patient who happened to be big. He was a big man, but he was smelling very badly, he was very dirty, and he was dying. So when Bombaba Maharaj saw that, he realized he cannot pick him up on his own. The guy is too big. So what to do? He started crying loudly. "Oh, my father is here. And he came to Kashi on pilgrimage, and now he needs help. Who will help me? What a calamity. My father is here." He started crying like that. So the monks heard this commotion, and they asked somebody, "What happened?" "Oh, Bombaba's father came on pilgrimage, and he is sick, and he's asking for help." So all the Swamis came and picked him up and did everything they could. They cleaned him up, and then whatever help he needed. Then one of the Swamis asked Bombaba Maharaj that, "Is he really your father? He doesn't look like you." And he said, like, of course, everybody's my father. So, so he actually tricked them. It was not his father, but he said, if I had asked you for help, it is lunchtime, you wouldn't have come. So I did like that, and you helped me. So this is another interesting story, that even saints have to be smart sometimes. You are trying to save a life. It's not that you're telling a lie or twisting the situation for your own benefit or for a selfish purpose. You are doing it for a noble cause. I mean, the other option is to let the man lie there and die. It would be very tragic. So he did that, and he could take care of the man. Another nice little story he tells. He was a brahmachari, and one of his duties was to clean the lamps, and they had like a glass, part of the lamp was glass, and you had to clean the soot from that. So he dropped the glass and it broke. So what to do? So he went to one of the senior swamis and said, Maharaj, I broke the lamp. What should I do? So the Swami said, you have two options. One is tell the head Swami and get the scolding. And the other option is buy a new one. So he begged, because they had no money at all. So he had to go out and beg for some money, and bought a new lamp and got away with it. But it shows how simple life was in those days, that even a small thing, they didn't have money to buy, and they had to be resourceful how to manage. So one monk, when he was later in his life, he could not walk, but his lifelong habit had been to go to Lord Vishwanath every morning and offer puja. So then later in life, he couldn't do that. And one of the Swamis asked him one day, look, you used to go to the Vishwanath temple every morning and offer worship. Doesn't it make you sad that you cannot go anymore and worship Lord Shiva? He said, no, it doesn't make me sad at all. When I am here and I am serving the Narayanas, when I'm cleaning the wounds, I feel I am pouring water on Shiva. And when I am applying ointment, it is chandan on Shiva. And then when I'm bandaging, it is bilva leaf I am applying to Shiva. So he says, this gives me great joy. I don't need to go anywhere. It is Shiva is here. I'm worshiping Shiva here. So these are a few stories of Swami Muktananda, one of the many saints that our order has produced that most people don't know about. There are so many. So we have some stories from Swami Vijnanananda, who was a direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. In your guest Swami's room, you have some pictures of Swami Vijnanananda. I was wondering whether Swami Swahanandaji used to stay there. Okay, so he was Swami Vijnanandaji's disciple, sorry. Swami Vijnananda was his guru. So I thought that's why you have pictures of Swami Vijnanandaji there. So Swami Vijnanandaji was a Brahmagyani. He was a knower of God, but he was also very hard to understand. There are many stories, interesting stories about his behavior and how he hid himself under some unusual behavior. So the lesson for us, what we should mention before these stories is that we should hold our judgment with these illumined souls. There is always a deeper meaning of why they do what they do. So let me give you a few stories of Swami Vijnananandaji. Once there was no milk in the ashrama. He was in Allahabad. And again, in those days, all our ashramas were poor. And they depended to a great extent on what people brought for their sustenance. So there was no milk in the ashrama. Swami said, today there's no milk, so there will be no tea. So one gentleman, he heard this, one devotee, and on his own, he went and bought some milk and gave it to Swami. So Swami got the milk and said, okay, I'll make some tea, but do you think I'll make tea for you? He said, no. So he made tea with the milk and about 4 cups, and the gentleman was just right in front of him. And the Swami drank one after another, all of them. So he drank all the cups of tea, and the gentleman was shocked. So afterwards, he went to one of the younger Swamis and asked him, is Maharaj crazy? So then the young Swami said, well, it is whatever you understand. It is up to you, whatever you understand. He didn't say yes or no. Apni jabo jen. He left it there. It's up to you, whatever you understand. Then there was once a modern girl dressed fashionably, which in those days was more unusual than today. Of course, today society has changed a lot. So this young girl sat in front of Swami kind of abruptly. Swami Vijnananda was sitting and he sat in front of him, and she asked, what is your advice to us? And his advice was, eat a lot, talk a lot, and quarrel a lot. Again, very unusual advice, very unusual behavior. To me, it reminds me of the Zen masters, that sometimes they give advice that it seems to make no sense, but you have to meditate, you have to think about it, you have to ponder it. What did they see to elicit that reply? What did they see in me to prompt them to say that? So there's always a deeper meaning. If you take it as on the surface, it makes no sense. Once the monks, when he became president of the order in Belur Math, the tradition is that the monks and brahmacharis, they will come in the morning and make pranam to President Maharaj, and he will give them prasad, a little fruit and a little sweets in those days. Now they have simplified and it's just some lozenges. It's easier to distribute. And also the numbers have gone up so much. There are so many Swamis in Belur Math. But in those days, he used to give a little fruit and sweets, prasad. So one day he announced, today I'm not giving prasad to anybody. Everybody's getting greedy. Throw it in the Ganges. Everybody's shocked, throwing the prasad in the Ganges. But President Maharaj is saying, how can you disobey? So they threw the prasad in the Ganges. Guess what the Swamis did? They decided to take bath in the Ganges. So the Swamis went and took bath in the Ganges, and they picked up everything and ate happily. Then they reported to the Swami, and he was also happy. He said, oh, really, really? Oh, okay. He had, when he was in Allahabad, he had a servant. In those days, you would call them a servant, some paid staff who helped him with little things. He had known him for many years. His name was Benny. And he loved Benny very dearly. He was an orphan, and he was very close to Swami Vijnananda. But he treated him very rough. He was very rough. And he paid him very little. So once a Swami asked Benny, why do you stay with him? Why do you stay with him? He treats you very harshly, using, harsh words, and he pays you very little. Why do you stay with him? You can get a better job. His answer was, where will I get a Mahapurush, a great soul like him? So you see, we can look at the surface behavior, And even the person who is at the receiving end and he's getting the abuse and he's being badly paid, he doesn't mind. He himself doesn't mind. He can see this Swami is a saint. And on the surface, yes, this is going on, but he is a realized soul. So Swami Brahmananda also said this. He confirmed this. Once Swami Brahmananda was in Belur Math, he was the president of the order, and Swami Vijnanananda ji came to visit from Allahabad. So Swami Brahmananda told the monks, have you seen Swami Vijnanananda? And they said, no. He said, go and make pranam. He is a Brahmagyani. He said, he has the knowledge of Brahman on the palm of his hand. He can have it anytime. He's a great soul. But he hides himself. He doesn't want anybody to discover him. So he hides himself with this personality, with this behavior. So it's very interesting that a realized soul can understand another realized soul. And for ordinary people, they will only look at the superficial actions or words or behavior. So when he was young and he used to visit Sri Ramakrishna, sometimes some days will pass or some weeks and he wouldn't visit Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna would call for him, send in Sharat Maharaj or somebody else. Why don't you come? Sri Ramakrishna is calling you. He wants to see you. You are not coming to Dakshineshwar. So one day, after a long absence, Vijnan Maharaj came to see Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna asked him, I haven't seen you in a long time. I am calling for you and you don't come even when I'm calling. What's the matter? His answer was, sir, sometimes I don't feel like visiting you, so I don't come. So very honest. I don't feel like visiting you. And Sri Ramakrishna smiled. He enjoyed that reply. He didn't mind at all. Then he said, do you meditate daily? And Vijnan Maharaj says, sir, I try, but no, I cannot meditate. I'm unable to meditate. I try every day. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, what? You cannot meditate? Why not? Then he becomes serious and calls him by his side and scribbles something on his tongue. And Sri Ramakrishna says, go and meditate in the Panchavati. So Vijnan Maharaj starts going to the Panchavati, but he cannot move. His legs don't move. So he's in a peculiar state. So somehow he manages to reach the Panchavati. He immediately, as soon as he sits for meditation, he becomes unconscious. He loses consciousness. So the next thing he knows is he comes back to consciousness. He can see Sri Ramakrishna smiling, rubbing his back. And he says, so, did you have meditation? And then he said, yes, sir. And, he described to him whatever experience he had. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, from now on, you will be able to meditate every day. But that was in his early days before, becoming Swami Vijnanananda. And at that time, Sri Ramakrishna gave him many instructions. One of them was that you had to be very careful with the ladies. You should not look even at an image of the ladies and avoid, any contact. So he took it to heart. He was very strict in that respect. So there's an interesting story about this. When Swami Vivekananda came back from the West to India, he was accompanied by his female Western disciples moving around in India and Belur Math. So Swami Vijnananda saw this and it bothered him. So one day he caught Swamiji alone and he said, Sri Ramakrishna has taught us that a sannyasi should stay away from women, should not even look at an image of a woman. And I find that you are mixing with them freely in the US and you brought them to India and you're mixing freely. So are you not disobeying the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna? It's a very valid argument. Huh? So Swami Vivekananda, when he heard this, his face became red and he became very grave. So immediately Vijnana Maharaj got scared. What have I done? I asked this question to Swamiji, you know, that Sri Ramakrishna said that we are the same thing. He's almost like Sri Ramakrishna. How could I ask this? Immediately he felt bad about asking this question. But so Swamiji became very grave. And then he said, look, do you think you have understood Sri Ramakrishna? Do you think what you understand of Sri Ramakrishna is the totality of Sri Ramakrishna? You see, what Sri Ramakrishna taught you is true for you, but I am following what he taught me. And also, Sri Ramakrishna erased from me all notion of female and male. He just destroyed in me the distinction between male and female. There is no gender in the Atman. So the Atman is one. So Swami Vijnananda was truly amazed to hear this experience from Swamiji. So why Swamiji could mix so freely and be so spontaneous with everybody and have friends, you know, all over the world without caring whether they were male or female, is because he was beyond these distinctions. He had realized the Atman in such a way that for him there was no distinction at all. So he said, Ramakrishna has erased in me the distinction between man and woman. Is there gender in the Atman? And another thing he said is, besides, Sri Ramakrishna came for the whole world. Is he going to pick and choose and save only the men? It just makes no sense at all. Sri Ramakrishna came for everybody. There is no distinction. So Swami Vivekananda was Sri Ramakrishna's instrument, and to spread his message, he needed to be in that state, beyond even gender, very high state. So Swamiji tells Vijnana Maharaj, what Ramakrishna taught you is true. You proceed as he instructed you, but he instructed me differently. Not only he told me, he showed me. Swamiji says, Sri Ramakrishna showed me that there is no difference. Not only taught me, he showed me. It is an experience. Huh? Another interesting story. I don't know, many of you, most of you probably don't know, but long ago there was a lawsuit, about 100 years ago, at the Ramakrishna mission. And one of the Swamis, he had met Sri Ramakrishna and he sued the order about some monasteries, etc. So this was a big problem that was going on when Swami Shivananda was the president of the order. And so there was a Swami who had met Sri Ramakrishna, and this Swami was suing the Ramakrishna mission. And so in Calcutta, there was a lawyer whose family was very close to the mission, but he decided to represent this Swami who is suing the mission. This Swami was a member of the mission, and he sued the Ramakrishna mission. So this gentleman, this lawyer, was representing him in the lawsuit against the Ramakrishna mission. His wife was initiated by Swami Shivananda, and they were very devoted. The wife was very devoted. His father had been the host to Swami Vivekananda in Darjeeling. Swami Vivekananda had stayed at his father's house. So they had a long connection. But somehow he decided to represent this Swami against the Ramakrishna mission. So one day this lawyer invited Swami Vijnananda, who was known to the family, for dinner while all this is going on. So he said, okay. But then some Swamis objected. What is this? This lawyer is suing us, and you're going to eat with him. Then they went to Swami Shivananda, president of the order, and he said, okay, let him go, no problem. Let him go and have dinner with him. Swami Vijnananda said, I am not going to do anything about the lawsuit. I know the family well, and they invited me, and it's a personal visit. So they say, okay, you can go. Then he told them, my stomach is not well. I will only have fish soup and rice, nothing else. Okay. Then he went to the family of this gentleman. He was waiting for the food to be served, sitting on a chair. Then this host, this lawyer tells him, Maharaj, we don't know anything about God. We are householders. We understand money, property, and relatives, family. That's all we understand. Money, property, and family. Besides, what's the proof that God exists? So this was the lawyer who was doing the mission, inviting the Swami and then giving him a lecture. This is what we believe in. Money, property, and family, and what's the proof that God exists? So the Swami he listened, his eyes were closed, and then he put his hand on his chest and said, whatever you have said is true from your point of view, but I have experienced a divine consciousness behind this universe. I have seen it with my own eyes. So that was the end of the discussion. So then they sat for a meal, and this family, the lawyer and his wife, they brought all kinds of dishes, elaborate dishes, like a banquet. And Swami and his sevak, they ate heartily everything. Then at the end of that big meal, the lawyer said, Maharaj, we have a fish soup and rice. Oh, yes, yes, bring it. So he had a big feast, and then he had the fish soup and rice. And then he went back to Belur Math. So anyway, it's a small story, but it's very interesting. Like, enemy or friend. The Gita says, make no distinction between them. Okay, yes, he is your enemy in court, but the wife is devoted, she is a devoted devotee, and they have invited you. Why should your enmity stand in the way? You can have a meal with your enemies. I find it interesting because in the West we have this kind of black or white. Are you my enemy or are you my friend? But in the East, it's more nuanced. It's like sometimes you can be enemy and sometimes you can be friend. It doesn't need to be like forever enemy, forever friend. So in India, you will find this kind of gray area that sometimes you can be like you can mix with your enemies even. Once the Swami told me something that I found very interesting. He said, it's probably a saying, I don't know, I never heard it before. He said, better an intelligent enemy than a foolish friend. I don't know if it is an Indian saying or what, but so I was thinking, what could it mean? Better an intelligent enemy than a foolish friend. Well, perhaps what it means is if you have an intelligent enemy, they're pushing you to be alert. They're pushing you to be strong. But if you have a foolish friend, they can bring you down with their foolishness. Anyway, there are many ways to interpret that saying. I think we have time for one more story. So there was a thief. This Swami Vijnananda tells this story in the book of Reminiscences. There was a thief who heard about the guru. And he thought, I should get a mantra from this guru. That desire came to his mind. So he went to the guru and said, sir, please give me a mantra. And the guru said, okay, but there is one condition. You will have to follow what I tell you to do. So you don't have to decide now. Go back home and think about it. Tomorrow, if you decide that you will follow whatever I tell you to do, then I'll give you a mantra. So the thief went home and he thought, what's the big deal? He'll give me a mantra and I will repeat it. Then I will continue with my lifestyle. I don't see any problem. So next day he went to the guru and said, yes, sir, I will follow whatever you tell me to do. And please give me a mantra. So the guru gave him a mantra, and then his instruction was, under no circumstances should you tell a lie. Should always tell the truth. That was the only instruction, nothing else. And gave the mantra. So the thief was very happy. That's not a big deal. So I went back home. Then, night, it became night, and then his old samskara came back. It's time to go out and steal, and break into some house and get something. So he had been repeating the mantra during the day, but at night, that old samskara came back. So he went out, determined to steal something, and late at night. So on the way, he found a neighbor coming, encountering him, and then the neighbor asked, oh, hello, what are you doing so late at night? So he cannot lie. So he said, oh, I'm returning home. And then he turned around and went home. So then the next day, again, at night, he went out to steal, and he met somebody else. Where are you going? Oh, I was just returning home, and went back home. So this happened many times until finally his habit was broken, that habit of stealing. So the story is that truthfulness saves us. If we can be truthful, that truthfulness will lead us to many other good things just by following truth. Sri Ramakrishna said that truthfulness is the tapasya of the Kali Yuga. It's the most important tapasya. He could have said so many things. That is, he could have said japa is the tapasya of the Kali Yuga. He could have said, mona or fasting or so many things, charity, unselfishness. But it's interesting. He said truthfulness is the tapasya of the Kali Yuga. So if we follow truthfulness, everything else falls into place. Shall we stop here or one more story? Okay, one more story. Okay, very good. Otherwise, I will be 2 minutes short, so better to be 2 minutes extra. So a devotee had a doubt. He was a disciple of Swami Vijnanananda, and once he had a doubt. Does God accept our offerings? His doubt was, I have seen when people bring offerings to my guru, Vijnan Maharaj, he will distribute them among the devotees, or he will send them to the kitchen, but he never takes the offerings. So he started thinking that most probably God accepts the offerings of people who are pure-hearted, with a pure mind. And ordinary people like me, God will not accept the worship, the offering. So he was a little depressed, thinking along those lines. So one day he decided that, let me go to my guru and clarify this. I want to really find out if God accepts our offering or not. So he was a poor man. All he could buy on the way was 2 green coconuts. So he bought 2 green coconuts to offer to God. And he went to Belur. Swami Vijnanananda was the president. But he was a little delayed on the way, and he arrived at Arati time. So Arati time means the darshan is over. The devotees cannot see President Maharaj. But anyway, he went to his room to see what was going on. And he found the assistant closing the door. And when the assistant saw this devotee, he said, oh no, there's no darshan. Darshan is over. Go downstairs. So the devotees, okay, he gave him the coconuts and bowed down from outside the room. But Swami Vijnananda saw him from inside. He noticed him and he said, oh, you have come. Come in, come in. So the sevak had to open the door again and let him in. And then he asked, what have you brought? Oh, you brought some coconuts. And then he told the sevak, please cut the coconuts. I want to have coconut, green coconut. And the sevak was really surprised. Then he explained to the devotee, look, this is really unusual. Maharaj will have green coconut 3 p.m. every day. Today, when I ask him, will you have coconut? He said no. He never says no. Today he said no. And now he never drinks coconut this time. And now he's asking for it. I don't understand. So he was telling this devotee. Huh? And then the devotee looks in a corner of the room, there's a pile of coconuts. It's not like they were, out of it. Then Swami Nirakarananda says, oh, these coconuts are the best. He started praising him and asking him questions. So his question was answered without even uttering a word. That day he did not have a coconut, and he had it when he brought it. So very interesting. There are many interesting stories with this old Swamis, that things that happen like this. They will answer your question without you even asking about it. So I think it's not that God expects us to be perfectly pure in order to accept the offering. It's the love, the sincerity with which we offer. We all have our limitations. Nobody's perfect. But when you offer it with love, that is what makes it acceptable to God. Then it is accepted. It's a nice story, and I will finish with this. Vidura, the great devotee of Sri Krishna, once was feeding Sri Krishna. And his wife was looking at him. He was like in an ecstatic mood, feeding bananas to Sri Krishna. So the wife noticed he's feeding the banana peel, because he's in ecstasy. He doesn't know what he's doing. So he's peeling the banana and giving the peel to Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna is eating. So the wife scolded Vidura. She said, what are you doing? You are feeding banana peels to Sri Krishna. Let me do it. You go. So she started feeding bananas to Sri Krishna, and Sri Krishna says, these are not as sweet. Okay, I'll finish here. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto all.